Hello, I'm Andrea, an official SAT tutor at MMT Prep, and in this video I will be explaining the answers for the fifth writing passage of the College Board's official practice test number 1. Because it is a writing passage, we will not be reading everything, only the underlined section, and then as needed around that. So let's begin with number 34. I can see right away looking at these answers, these are transitions. It's a transition problem, and so the best way to do this is to read the sentence beforehand and the sentence afterwards, and then I'm going to decide a relationship on my own, and I'm going to try and use kind of an and, but, or so that I would put in that place, and then match it to one of my answer choices afterwards. So first I'm going to read the very first sentence. Long viewed by many as the stereotypical useless major, philosophy is now being seen by many students and prospective employers as in fact a very useful and practical major, offering students a host of transferable skills with relevance to the modern workplace. Blank, right? I'm going to skip over this. Philosophy is the study of meaning and the values underlying thought and behavior. I'm not totally sure what the relationship is between those two. I don't know what the point is, where they're going. I'm just going to read a little bit of the next one. But more pragmatically, the discipline encourages students to analyze complex material. Okay, so it's actually going to be, this is a weird transition problem. Usually it is those two sentences, either side of the transition word. This one's working also with the sentence that follows. So something underlined, philosophy is a study of meaning, but more pragmatically, the discipline. And so it's a contrast between those two sentences. So the one is more pragmatic, and then the other one is going to, can't be like, for example, it's not an example of anything. It's not in contrast to something else. It's not nevertheless. It's going to actually be in broad terms, which is working in contrast to the more pragmatically in the next sentence. So when I did that, when I read the first and second sentence, and I was first looking for the transition between the two, and I felt that it was kind of off, then I'm going to keep reading to try and figure it out and get a little more information for myself. So 34 will be A, and now I'm going to look at 35. But more pragmatically, the discipline encourages students to analyze complex material. So for the SAT writing section, the shortest is normally the best unless there's a really good reason that it's wrong. Having already read this sentence, I know that sounds right. Grammatically, it works. And if I look at my other options, speaking in a more pragmatic way, these are just longer wordings of the same exact thing. So I'm going to choose A for 35. So 36, it's a verb one, right? Underlined is teaching. Pretty much almost never choose INGs. They're wrong answers. So I'm going to eliminate A unless I get to the end of my sentence. I'm like, oh, I absolutely need it. And I would make an educated guess between B, probably B actually. But I'm not totally sure. I'm going to look at my sentence. Because philosophy teaches students not what to think, but how to think. Indeed, it's going to be B. And the way that I knew that is because every sentence I need my real subject, main subject, and an active verb. ING is not an active verb. To teach is not an active verb. And teaching, again, the ING. So teaches makes the most sense. 37, which choice most effectively sets up the information that follows? So there are two things about this question. One is it's one of the slow ones, if you want to save it to the end. The other is that even though it's asking pretty much for a transition, the key thing is what comes afterwards. So I'm actually going to read the next sentence. A 1994 survey concluded that only 18% of American colleges required at least one philosophy course. So only 18% of colleges require it. It's not that much. Let me look through my answer, see if there's one that's logical. Consequently, philosophy students have been receiving an increasing number of job offers. That definitely does not lead into a survey about requirements. Therefore, because of the evidence, colleges increased their offerings in philosophy. Doesn't really make sense. Notwithstanding the attractiveness of this course of study, students have resisted majoring in philosophy. Not exactly. However, despite its many utilitarian benefits, colleges have not always supported the study of philosophy. That one is going to match. It's about the study of philosophy, and this is about having philosophy courses. So 37 will be D. 38, again, it's a transition problem. I'm going to read the sentence before, skip the transition, sentence after, and decide for myself if it would be an and, a but, or a so. A 1994 survey concluded that only 18% of American colleges required at least one philosophy course. Between 1992 and 1996, more than 400 independent philosophy departments were eliminated from institutions. Okay, so not that many, only 18% needed it, and more than 400 departments were eliminated, right? So it's going down for both of them. And so I would say an and, right? So my and is going to be moreover, C. 39, which choice most effectively combines the sentences at the underlined portion? Again, always, if possible, I'm going to try the shortest one, which would be A. I'm going to see if that's going to work. So from the beginning of the first sentence, also studies have found that those students who major in philosophy often do better than students from other majors in both verbal reasoning and analytical writing, as these results can be measured. Sorry, I did not read the full underlined section. Writing as measured by standardized test scores. Indeed, A works. It can be both verbal reasoning and analytical writing as measured by standardized test scores. It's appropriate that you would just say as measured by. Shorter, simpler, always if possible, choose the shortest. 39 will be A. 40, again, it's verbs. I'm going to eliminate the ing. Students intending to study philosophy in graduate school has scored higher than students. The key thing for any verb problems, I'm going to need to know who I'm talking about, what my subject is. And so my subject in this case is going to be my students. And if I changed it into a pronoun, I would say they. And so then I'm trying to find a verb that would match they. They has scored does not sound right. They scores does not sound right. They have scored would work, and so it's going to be B because the subject is they. You don't need to worry about having the have or not having the have. That's a level up of decision making that this question actually isn't even asking for. It's just subject-verb agreement. When you know that the subject is students, the only possible answer will be B. 41. If I had to make a guess, again, I would say no ing, but I'm not as sure for this one because I also have a noun next to my verb, so I'm going to read the sentence. These days, many students majoring in philosophy have no intention of becoming philosophers, okay? So we do actually want the ing because it's working as our subject, with students majoring being what we're talking about. And then I have to decide if I want this apostrophe. I do not want the apostrophe because they don't own the major. They're doing this. And then it's between ing, no ing. As I was saying, I do want the ing because I do not actually want that to be my verb. It's working as a subject. And so I'm going to choose B for 41. 42, again, this is one of those longer ones. You might want to save these for the end. And this one is about a possible addition. So let's read the sentence that they're considering. The ancient Greek philosopher Plato, for example, wrote many of his works in the form of dialogues. Okay, and now I'm actually going to look at the place that I would possibly be adding it. I'm going to read the sentence before a sentence after, see if they match. Law and business specifically benefit from the complicated theoretical issues raised in the study of philosophy, but philosophy can be just as useful in engineering or any field requiring complex analytic skills. So they're talking about fields, and then the ones afterwards, that these skills are transferable across professions, which makes them especially beneficial to 21st century students. Okay, so a key thing here is that I have these skills and skills. So I actually really do not want to add this. I'm almost positive I don't want to add it because to do that would interrupt these two sentences that need to be together. So I'm going to eliminate A and B, and then it's between C and D. I have to describe why. So no, because it blurs the paragraph's focus by introducing a new idea that goes unexplained. Or no, because it undermines the passage's claim about the employability of philosophy majors. It doesn't necessarily undermine the claim. It's kind of off topic. And it definitely does blur the focus. This is also the most common reason for choosing to delete or not to add something. So blurring the paragraph's focus. 42 will be C. 43, shorter is usually better, but I'm not totally sure in this case, especially with the smaller words. I'm going to read my sentence before I decide that delete would be my best choice. That these skills are transferable across professions makes them especially beneficial to, and it keeps going. The part of the sentence I need to read, I have already read. And I know just from reading that indeed I can delete it, and that's the shortest option. It sounds the most natural, and so I'm going to choose D for 43. These skills are transferable across professions. That these skills are transferable across professions makes them especially beneficial. Totally flows without that extra word. 44, this is a pronoun one. The moment I see that it's about pronouns, I have to decide what I'm indeed talking about. Because today's students can expect to hold multiple jobs, some of which may not even exist yet during our lifetime, okay? So it's about a lifetime, and then the lifetime in this case is actually going to be with the students, and it's plural, key thing with the S, so their lifetime, 44 will also be D. So that finishes the writing section. We have gone through the answers for all of the writing practice test number 1. And then next video, I'll make a writing video for practice test number 2. Good job. Hope you answered all your questions. If you have any more questions or weren't sure about anything, you can always rewind and go back through the videos to focus on those harder problems.